Welcome to the Start to Be Great podcast. I'm your co-host, Kimmy.
And I'm Anna. And if you're anything like us and you're sick of using fear as an excuse to not truly live your life, then you're in the right spot. We are here to tell you that you don't have to be great to start something, but you do have to
start to be great.
Man,
so who do we have here this week?
I'm so excited. We have our third guest ever on our show, Miss Elle Scott. And it's funny, we are recording this on Valentine's Day, and I was thinking about you this morning, and I was like, Elle is for love. And I was just like, what perfect timing to have you on. So Elle, I met through the Lion's Den. I think the first time we met was at Lion's Den Live. And,
yes.
I got to tell you, you are like a very, for such a small woman, you're very, I don't want to use the word intimidating, but I might have judged you a little bit. And here's why, not in a bad way. I was like, this woman is so successful and so gorgeous and like looks so amazing, like put together in her life and is doing all these cool things. It's not possible that she's that nice and that cool. And what I learned is that you are, and you've been such a nice ear for me and someone that I can turn to and ask questions about, whether it's grape cleanses or reading signs or business related things. It's been really great getting to know you, and I'm excited to share you with our listeners because I think you have a lot of input.
Oh, thank you. That is a very generous and kind intro, and I am flattered and very humbled as well. It's been an absolute joy getting to know you and connecting with you, and I now get to start that journey with Kimmy as well. So it's wonderful. Thank you. Yeah, and thank you for having me on. This is a really cool topic. It's probably one of my favorite topics, and love it's been a challenge, as it has for everybody, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you want to tell them what we're talking about today?
Yes. So in the spirit of Valentine's Day, where it's a very commercialized holiday, in my opinion, where you buy things for people that you love, I think it's better to look inward. And we're talking about loving yourself.
Yes. And I remember a time, I don't even remember the situation, but you, Elle, were talking about how you were going to start dating yourself again and like getting to know yourself better, and that's why you were the person that came up as like, well, we got to talk to her, she's the one for this podcast. So you want to tell us a little bit about yourself and how your life has brought you to this journey of self-love?
Sure. So I'd call myself an endless truth seeker. I want to know the why and the truth behind and of everything. And it has often been a journey that's of myself as well. And really, I come down to it. That's really all we're doing, is discovering ourselves more and more through people.
Yeah.
And I was the kid that wanted to just pretty much dive into everything. I didn't really want to kind of go towards the drug, sex, and alcohol route. I wanted to kind of, figure out certain scientific things. And I was very active as a child. So I was always getting some sort of scrapes and bumps and, blaming everybody else for it, not myself, which also showed up in some of my adult relationships as well. But, I quickly I always wanted to be successful. I always wanted to, again, be impactful, which was a big deal. I was raised around a lot of influential, successful business people. And I was also raised in a born again Christian home. So there was also some interesting beliefs and principles put upon me, and I was expected to show up for that. So, I had fun in life and I did my best. Right out of college, I played collegiate golf. So I played golf. Yes, I love golf. I'm not the most competitive person either. So that didn't work out very well because I'm against me, right? It's just, it's you against you. And yeah, I played the drums. I was in bands. I just wanted to stay active and do things and try things. And then right out of college, I went into corporate technology sales. And that's really where most of my time and energy was spent. It gave me the freedom to work from anywhere. I was very successful very early on as a young person and traveled all over and had a blast. I was also raised to be a humanitarian, so I helped build schools for Indian tribes and such. And after about 17 years, I took a couple breaks in between those, but 17 years of that career, and along the way, of course, lots of relationships, romantically, and of course, friends and whatnot. I got into a lot of spirituality, looked for mentors. I studied under a few gurus, if you will, and it was, again, always just that search. And then I retired that tech career recently, as we've talked about that journey and stepping away from something and ending that season to go fully into committing myself to helping the world through iridology, cellular regenerative detox, and more humanitarian philanthropy work. And so that's where I am today. Mm-hmm. And of course, that doesn't have too much to do with self-love, but I will tell you that over the course of that time, I would say I put more of my energy towards romantic relationships and less energy towards the relationship with myself than I should have. And the contrast has taught me to be, and given me all the data I need to be where I am today, mm-hmm. to say, yeah, that's, I'm definitely not the person I was 20 years ago.
Oh, 100%. Was there something that happened specifically that was like a moment where you're like, I'm working on me? Like, what finally changed that for you to make you realize, like, hey, it's time, like, I need to spend more effort on myself? Oh, can you repeat that? Yeah, your audio just cut out.
Yeah, hold on 1 second.
No.
How about now?
We can hear you now.
So weird. Okay, sorry about that. This is what I get. I should just hardwire into this at this point.
You need some cord stuff.
Yeah. Do you want me to cord, or do you want me to keep these in and keep going?
No, keep going.
If it fails, we'll do more. Issue. Yeah. That will do it. Cool. So I think there's many times throughout the journey that I would, and usually it was after breakups. And I think that's the same for a lot of people. It's, I broke up with this person, screw that, I'm going to focus on me, right? There was always this forceful way of doing it. Like, I'm going to stay single, I'm going to do this. That started to dissipate after the relationships that I did would end. The next one would be better, the next would be easier. And then finally, I think the one that really is sticking or stuck is when I got engaged and I ended that engagement. And really for the main reason of, not because I didn't want to get married, not because I didn't love this person. It was because I felt like we've learned all the lessons that we needed to with one another. And I can only speak for myself. I'm a constantly evolving being. And I think all of us have desires that change on a constant basis. And it wasn't that I wanted anybody else. It was simply we're all done here. Mm-hmm. And, the first time we got engaged, because we got engaged twice, the first time we got engaged, I really, really loved her. The first time we got engaged, that separation was slightly different than, say, the separation of the second time around. The second time around was truly, and the most recent, obviously, was truly where I felt like we were done. First time was still a lot of angst and anger and blame, but the second time was like, wow, thank you. This was amazing. And super grateful, and I'm glad we did this, and now we're releasing one another, and we are huge supports for each other. We're best friends, and that's after the course of going on 4 years of being in each other's world, and going from relationship to breakup multiple times, engaged twice, to now just great friends. And that's when I really realized, it's really just is the relationship with yourself, and that's all this life is about.
Do you think that there's pressure from society to take time off? Like you say that a lot of like you look inward when breakups are done. Do you think like that's part of that's because people are like, if you were to jump immediately into another relationship, that's looked down upon? Like, oh, she's just jumping from person to person. Like, do you think that's kind of expected for like an expected break to look inward?
It is, absolutely. And I will tell you that I was the first person to have the revolving door. Like before the one was out, another one was in. And it was, and in some ways I was looked down upon for that. And in the other ways, it's like, well, but I'm all done with that. It's like, this was just my personality. It was like, well, we're all done here and there's nothing wrong with me going, oh, but I met this person. What, what I think society has misunderstood is that we're going to learn all our lessons on our own. We need those mirrors. We need those interactions. That's the whole point of this journey, is to learn ourselves through contrast. And that usually comes through humans, other people, other interactions. I have no problem with someone going from one relationship to another. Now, what that gap looks like is totally your karma. If those bleed into one another, that's also karma. But I think it is a looked down upon. And frankly, we have no place to judge anybody's journey. And I think the second we do is when we really lose our path.
Yeah, I have friends that have gone through like divorces and long relationships, and it ends and they're already with someone. And I know a lot of their family members and stuff give them a hard time. And I'm like, why does it matter to you? Like, if they already are opening their heart for more love, like, why is that a bad thing?
Right. And I think we've all been surrounded by those people. And I was one of those. You know, my parents were constantly, can you just take a break? And I would take little breaks here and then. But of course, I was, you know, as I'm taking that break, I'm over here talking with people and I'm on the apps and everything like that. And going back to kind of how I knew it shifted for me is when I didn't suddenly feel the need to get back into another dynamic.
Yeah.
I just went, oh, I fully feel like I'm good. I'm so good. It's not to say I don't have more lessons to learn. It's not to say that I won't attract people and things. I think they'll just be slightly different at this point because of the level I've gotten to with fully living full out as me, right? And enjoying that more than anything.
Yeah, I feel like, I like that too. I feel like we, not just with relationships and love, but I feel like we go through things so many times and it's like you said, like a new level. And then once you get to that level, it's like right before the level, I feel like it's really hard. And then you get there and you're like, oh, all right. And then you just chill for a bit. And then it's like, cool, I'm on a new level. And then you're like, oh crap, this is how things work. And you're like, and then you start figuring it out. But, it's a nice way to look at it. So you're just on your next level of love, baby.
Yeah, really. And again, not even judging. Yeah. Not even judging the journey. I could sit here and say, yeah, I'm gonna be single and I'm gonna do this and that and I'm gonna be celibate or whatever. But then you look at what kind of boundary are you putting on this journey when the journey is meant for all about learning and doing and being and then doing more things. I mean, ultimately, we came here to be happy, truly happy, and experience all the things we can't experience on the non-physical side. So why not? I'm not gonna judge it.
They always say that you attract the energy that you put out, right? And so I think if you're living your best version of yourself and most authentic to you, then you're going to be happy being just by yourself, but you're also going to attract the kind of energy that you want. So that's what I've been telling myself through all my wonderful transitions to the next level of love.
Yeah. I've seen it work in reverse too. I had a friend and she still kind of has a negative energy, and I tried to tell her and she doesn't get it yet. But I'm like, the reason you're receiving what you're getting is because of what you're putting out. Like, it's just what you're doing. And it's hard to get out of that zone because you're like, yeah, but nothing's changed. Like, why am I always better? Like, I'm happy.
You know, and frankly, it goes for everything, right? I mean, we really are creating everything we experience. We're attracting all of it, we're experiencing it, and I don't say there's no one to blame but ourselves, because I'm not either going to blame myself.
Right.
Again, the whole point is for the best way to know what you want is to know what you don't want. So I'm going to go out there and experience a lot of things I don't want. That's just the name of the game.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to get mad at it. I just would hope to start to experience different things or less impactful things that I don't want.
Yeah.
That's the goal.
The goal is to learn things and not do the same dumb stuff over and over again.
Right. But again, it really comes down to that attractive thought.
Mm-hmm.
What vibration, and beliefs are really just thoughts we continue to think. So if you don't want that showing up, then switch up quickly, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, in the theme of looking inward, how would you define self-love?
Oh, the healthy form of selfishness. And when I say that, I'll expand on that. It's going back to the attraction conversation. You really only have control of you. It's the only thing you truly can control. Any human has one thing they can control, and that's thought habit. Bottom line, everything else you can control, obviously the physical body to a degree. You didn't create that mechanism.
Mm-hmm.
But the thought patterns that you create are truly the only power you have. Therefore, and for me, this took a while, even though I knew this in theory, I didn't practice it very well. I had it up here, but didn't have it integrated.
Mm-hmm.
And I think self-love, the most important part is making sure that I continue to practice the continuous and make a habit of thinking well about myself, thinking well and loving on myself as far as words are concerned and thoughts. That's really where it starts. And I can stop from experience. I didn't always have that. I was the first person to have body dysmorphia. I was the first person to say I'm not worthy, I'm not enough. No one's gonna, someone doesn't want to be with me because of this reason. I had all the things, and negative self-talk is one of the most detrimental, not just physically, but emotionally, and of course what you attract thereon. So self-love is really making a habit of positive thought towards yourself, and then walking with that.
Yeah, I like that. I feel like, and you let me know if you experience this, but I feel like when I was a young, teenage girl, and me and my closest girlfriends, we would get one compliment from one person, typically a boy, and he would say, "Oh, you're pretty," or whatever. And we always just, I remember thinking, well, it doesn't matter if I get called pretty once, because I'm not calling myself that. I'm calling myself something different 100 times that. And so it's they think that they're complimenting you, but when we're rougher on ourselves and just beating ourselves up, it doesn't matter what other people say when it is good, because your opinion is there immediately, every day, all day. It's bad.
Yeah, it can be. And I think that's really the work. I mean, I can tell people all day long, run yourself bubble baths and make sure you take the right herbs and eat healthy, and put a thing of mascara on, girl, and pick yourself up and walk, sure. But nothing will ever be truly as impactful and give you the results you're looking for as it is those thoughts, which would then come out as words, audible or not.
What practices do you do to check in with yourself to make sure you're talking pretty to yourself? Like you said, run a bubble bath.
Yeah.
There's so many things that you could define as self-love, but what do you do to check in with yourself to make sure that you're...
Yeah, great question. I always start with gratitude. So as much as I will start my day off with that, I know it all comes down to me. Everything that I'm putting out, everything that, it doesn't really matter what anybody else is doing around me. But starting with gratitude takes me outside myself, because I know for me that there's always going to be a learning. I'm never going to be perfect, and I don't want to be, because that means I'm done and I might as well die, right? I don't want to be done. I want to keep going. I want to keep evolving and keep learning. So starting with gratitude takes me outside of myself first, and then really it's is it's it's seriously minding my goddamn business. That's how the best thing I could do in making sure I check in with myself is not getting into anybody else's shit.
Yeah.
It's the first form of love. I wake up every day in gratitude and I say, okay, well, how can I continue on my path and mind my own business? I think there's this misnomer that we need to wake up, roll over to our partner and go, what can I do for you today? They don't even know, first of all. And if they probably gave you the real answer, it'd be get the fuck away from me. Give me some space, because the majority of us just got to stay in our lane. And that's how I check in with myself first is, am I staying in my lane? Because if I'm not, there's no way I can start with self-love. The first form of self-love is truly gratitude and staying in your lane.
Yeah, that kind of ties in with the, what'd you call it? The selfishness,
Yeah, that selfishness.
Yeah.
The healthy form. Because, first of all, you can't pretend you know what anybody is thinking or feeling, and we never will. And trying to insert ourselves into a journey that is not fully laid out, because no one has it fully laid out, only could perhaps derail someone else's vibration. So again, I can only control my thought patterns. I'm just going to stay in my lane. And that's selfish to most people.
So how would you recommend to somebody to check in with themselves if they are currently in a relationship? If they're currently if they're with somebody and that is a priority to them, how would you recommend also making yourself a priority?
Well, definitely make yourself a priority first and foremost. And I know that can be a fine line and we wobble on that. And I'd be the first person to say, I always put the needs of other people before me. I think I got humanitarianism and and overgiving a little mixed up growing up. But I recognize that some of that is really I didn't feel I could be loved, so I didn't let love in. And then I didn't feel love because I didn't let love in. So there's just this vicious cycle that continues. I really think that when it comes to a relationship, the best thing is always make sure you're maintaining your vibration. And frankly, if you just focused on that, everything would be wonderful because it wouldn't really matter what that person does. But that's easier said than done. Again, that took me a while to see that, oh, you're texting with your ex and that's inappropriate. Yeah, that's okay. Moving on, we're going about my day. No, no, I was busting that door down. I was checking those texts. I mean, so it takes practice. But to get to that point where no matter what that person does, it won't affect you. Now, mind you, have your boundaries. Trust yourself only, because again, you're the only one you can really control. But that takes work. Knowing that person, no matter what they do, if you give them that power, they will shift your vibration. And you've now given up full control. So and that was a big lesson for me is it's the best thing I could do for my partner is really mind my own vibration and mind my business and be there if they need an ear. But ultimately, I gotta take care of this first.
It sounds like what you're talking about is like the old, you can't pour from an empty cup. And then here's the thing that I think people don't understand is you are responsible for filling up your cup first. Your partner should certainly not take more than they give into your cup as well, but you're relying on yourself to fill up your own cup. Mm-hmm. If everyone did their own cups, nobody would be stressing out about filling everyone else's cup. You just do your own cup.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. And what they take from that is what you allowed them to take, is what you gave them, right? Yeah. And it goes back to the no blame. Don't take anything personal, and don't be pushing blame, because ultimately you allowed that person to, you gave it freely.
Yep.
Nothing can really take anything from you to a degree. There's that attraction point when it comes to obviously that relationship. I know there's other topics that, yeah, some people can feel violated, but then you have to look at the attraction point also.
I like it. I did something recently that like tested my what like okay, I'll just dive into it. So I've been talking in the past on previous podcasts about wanting to do this silence cabin. Right? I wanted to go put myself in an element where I was forced to be completely alone because like you said, like I'm way more giving to others than checking inward. And so while I'm learning boundaries, I forced myself into a place where I didn't have to set any boundaries. My boundaries are physical at this point of I was alone in this cabin with zero contact with other people. And I only did it for a day. Like I didn't do it for like an extended period of time. And what I found is that I love being with myself. That was not hard at all to do. I didn't miss people around. I didn't miss like interacting with others. But what I did notice was that while I was okay being with myself, I was craving productivity. And I don't find it productive to be alone. And that might just be because I was so isolated, I couldn't do other things. Like I didn't have internet access to get the work done that I needed to get done. I don't think I gave myself long enough to disconnect fully. Because while I was there, I was like, all right, I got like 10 hours till I can get this, you know, like I just got to get through until I can, you know.
Did you find
go do
yourself like
stuff.
counting down the time? You're like, this is just something I'm doing kind of until I can start living my life again?
Like I wasn't like checking the clock every hour to make sure that I was, you know, I was like close to being done. But I did recognize, I was like, oh, it's getting close to like dinner time now. I'm going to continue reading this book. I'm going to, you know, go outside for a little bit. Like it was nice to be able to do whatever the fuck I wanted. But I did notice that I just wanted to be around people. It wasn't that I didn't want to be with myself, it was that I just wanted other people. So I don't know.
How do you feel being back? How does it feel
I
being
love
back with your
being
own people?
back.
Nice.
I will say that like when I was gone, like when I got my phone back, I had over 100 text messages. Like I had like so many people like wondering where I was.
She's crazy. I'm not even lying. Your notifications, like no wonder that gives you like anxiety. Is you have like in one day's time you have, I'm not joking, at least 10 times the amount of notifications on your phone than anybody I know. Like it's a lot.
Yeah,
I don't know if your people are just like spammers or I don't know if it's I don't know what it is.
I like it. I don't know.
You're just so cool. But,
So cool. But
it stresses you out.
It did. I mean, only because I haven't quite found a balance yet.
Mm.
So I guess. So what I was gonna. So we had brought this up to you beforehand that I was gonna go do this. Now I've done it. What do you think, if I were to do it again, how do you think that I could better disengage and like try to find myself in it?
Sounds like a second shot in the woods is coming.
I think at one, I think I need longer because I mean it was only a day, so I was thinking like, okay, well it's because I went from a Sunday to a Monday, so it was already like at the end of a weekend to a work day that I had taken, so I was already in like I felt bad for taking the time, and I know that's the whole point of it, but like I felt like I was not doing what I was supposed to be doing by taking time to check in with myself.
And it makes sense that, again, going back to something I said earlier about how we do I got to do this, I got to do this, and there's this kind of extreme situation you'll put yourself into. Either I'm going to be single for 6 months, or I'm going to be celibate, or I'm going to not drink, or whatever it may be, right? So I think sometimes that it can get where you put yourself into an extreme situation that's very, very opposite of what you live on a daily basis. You're going to expect to have that shock and awe, right?
Yeah.
Again, it's just simply contrast. There's nothing wrong with you wanting to be around people. The idea of having the stress that I need to be doing this, I need to be doing that. I would encourage I get that there's a lot of people out there who hustle. That's totally cool. I'm a law of least effort woman because most of the work is done in the vibration. Right? Most of the work's done in the thought patterns. Most of the work's done in that attraction, the law of resonance, the law of attraction, and so forth. And then I will take very poignant action, but it doesn't look like I'm hustling all day long. There's moments, there's like, we're a whole week and I've got eyes to do and detox clients and all this kind of stuff. And before I know it, it's 14-hour days. But those are rare, right? Because all it takes is just a tiny bit of movement. But if you constantly feel you have to effort in life in order to get anything, or to be rewarded, or to feel that you're connected, if you have to work that hard for that, or feel that you have to be checking in every day, then I would invite you to always go back to asking yourself, how much power do you think you really have? I think you're selling yourself short. You are super, super powerful. Your silence speaks even more volumes. You're taking your space to take care of yourself speaks even louder to the people that you're not talking to every day. That you're being an example. It's not just this for me, it's what are you showing to other people as well that you're able to do. And that it's realtors experience this all the time. They go on vacation and that's when all the business comes, right? That's pretty much all it is. It's when you disconnect, sometimes that is the most lucrative time ever.
Like with writer's block, people say that's when they're most creative, and like
right. Yeah, look at that as it may feel somewhat not as sociable, obviously, but you're actually still communicating extremely loudly to those people. And it's, if you do it again, you could go longer, but I would go in saying, this is the work. I'm actually being super productive right now because no one's hearing from me and they're blowing me the hell up.
Yeah.
I like it. Ask anybody who's married if silence is productive.
Powerful.
Oh yeah. If she's ignoring you, you're thinking about her every day and she knows it. Yeah.
So when do you feel most like yourself?
Oh, when I'm helping someone. I mean, that really is it. If I'm serving in any capacity, it could be opening the door for someone, it could be popping a quarter in someone's parking meter, it could be, or big stuff where, like I'm going to Ecuador at the end of the month to help plant 1,000 trees and help this nonprofit there and kids and all this stuff. Any amount of help is when I truly feel like myself.
I love that because you spend all of this time being healthy, selfish, and your favorite thing to do where you feel most like yourself is when you're giving to others.
Yeah.
I think that it's probably, those things definitely go hand in hand. Like you would not be so giving if you weren't also doing that work for yourself.
Yeah. But I will say that there's a shadow side to that as well. Being a giver, right? I would, in my relationship and pretty much all of my life, whether it was my parents, my relationships, friends, I would give. And oftentimes in a way that would enable those people, unfortunately. But because I wasn't receiving, I gave more. So it became actually a trauma response. To where, and you see this quite often, most often in relationships, even children and parents, but oftentimes in romantic relationships, is you overgive because it's a trauma response of not knowing how to receive. And receiving has been one of my biggest struggles in my life. If someone offered anything, nope, my card was already with the maitre d' before anybody even knew where the hell we were going to eat. Like, it's just that, like, I was making sure that I was at, not because I wanted the accolades, because I didn't feel I had anything else to give. I didn't think I had any other worth other than what I could provide monetarily. I was like, I've been the breadwinner in almost every single one of my relationships.
Yeah.
So to have someone come in and say, I want to do this for you, I'm like, oh, which is not a form of self-love. And it's certainly not loving that person, because if you were truly loving that person, you'd receive, right?
Mhm.
So I may seem like, yeah, I'm a huge humanitarian, but I've also had the struggles of that trauma response of overgiving and having a really hard time receiving.
Yeah.
That's since changed, thank goodness. You know, of course, I attribute that to some of my amazing and very impactful relationships. My tribe around me, who just is so encouraging, and that's a lot of the work, is knowing how to just be open to receive, and
Mhm.
that just being here is good, is enough, is worthy.
Yeah, I want to pause on that topic, because when you said the words breadwinner, because when you first described it, in my mind, I was like, I feel like that's typically like a male trait. And that's like in a very traditional role. Obviously, you know, we're not going to get into the semantics of what women and men can do and whatever. But,
No,
I
it's
feel
not.
like a lot of men feel like that. They feel, and I've heard this from podcasts I've listened to and from men that I've spoken to. They feel like they are, you know, and I'm fine if they want to be the provider, that's fine. But then they get to a place where they feel like that's the only thing that they're providing is finances, or like a, you know, security in that sense. So do you have any advice to maybe our male listeners, as someone who has learned how to be better at receiving and be present in themselves and know that they're worth more?
So I have my opinions, and that's all they are. In the way I see those roles. So as a basis, there's not too much I can, of course, speak about around dating men, because I never have. I've never dated one single man. Now that's I've not been open to, because for other reasons, I just wasn't, it didn't compute. I just have only ever been attracted to women. And there's obviously masculine, feminine energies and so forth. But in being surrounded by some of the most amazing men, I've had no bad issue. I've literally no reason why I didn't date men, because they're fantastic.
Yeah.
And I've had nothing but a great community. And of course, corporate career, that's the majority of people I worked with.
Right.
I truly believe society has done a disservice to our men.
Yeah.
And if we take this all the way back to nature and the way tribes were really ran and how they operated, men were designed to, yes, go to be the providers. They would, of course, provide the aspect to create life. They would gather, protect, procreate, provide. That's their nature. The second you ask them to be huge emotional supports, they would have to rewire their brain, because they're not wired that way. And I think, unfortunately, as society, we've wanted them to be massive emotional supports, and it's just I mean, they're more the literal brain. They're saying, okay, get her flowers. Take her to tell her she's pretty. Right. And unfortunately, now, you know, again, in tribes, that was perfect. Usually the men would come in, procreate, you know, drop off what they, you know, gathered, and then they'd go back out and do the same thing. And that's how that worked. And it was a beautiful, harmonious relationship. And they were revered. That's not how we treat men today. And we do have some examples of that. But it's almost this is the exception to what is now the rule. So I have a little bit of a different idea. I love that men are like that. Frankly, after dating just women, it can get exhausting, because I mean, I could maybe be a little more male brained. I don't want to sit here and deal with your issues, and your mood swings are driving me absolutely crazy. And this is what I think. And you want to know what it's like dating a woman, go to it. And then you realize, like, oh, it might be really refreshing to not have that pressure. And men, I think, majority feel pressure to show up beyond how they're designed. Now, of course, you do have men out there who are naturally very emotional is not the right word. They can sit with you in that and work those problems through on an emotional level, but it's more on the rare side. Men are worthy for just being men. That's it. Like, we've stopped loving them and revering them for how they're designed. This is unfortunate. And I think that's what's caused a lot of the misdirection of energy when it comes to this idea of masculinity, or, men not being masculine. Men are designed this way. Put them back in their lane where they're happy. Frankly,
stay in your lane.
Stay in their lane, but we're trying to take them out of their lane, get over here, do this, and you guys are like, so I would like to see men be given the permission to go back to the lane that they are designed to be in, and where they're comfortable and where they're powerful. They are the structure to women's not lack of structure, if you will, because we tend to be a little bit all over the place in the best of way.
I don't even want them to have permission. I feel like they should just do it because that's what they want to do. Like, that's what.
Yeah.
And same with women. Like, women, it's so funny because I think society has like tried to do things to men and women over the years. Like, men are supposed to be softer, but also do all these things, and women have been like, they've tried to put women in these things, and women have just been like, no. But I would like to see men do that. And I feel like there's a small like culture of men that are like, nah, we're masculine, like we're doing this the way we want to do it. And I'm glad, but it's not as like, women really ran with it, and I love it for us. But for men, I feel like it's a very complicated thing right now.
Well, they're trying to claw themselves back to nature. I mean, really, so are we, but unfortunately, you look at the women's movement. Nothing wrong with, obviously, rights and all this stuff. But again, if you really want to understand how we're healthiest, just go back to nature. Look at the lioness and look at the lion. She's working her ass off, all right? She's having the babies. She's choosing when they're living. He's doing his thing, but really, for the most part, he rests up for the time he is really needed. Mm-hmm. And he is still the king of the jungle, still the king, right? I always say I'd rather have a happy man than a changed man.
Interesting. That's especially interesting from a
woman who's never dated a man. But I'll tell you this, there was not one woman I was with I didn't try to change.
Yeah.
It's just what we do. It's our nature to be the guide, the lead, the more intuitive one, kind of like that priestess. Mm-hmm. You look at the queen on the chessboard, you know where the hell she wants.
Yeah.
But guess what? The king doesn't ever move but one space, but only when he absolutely needs to, because he knows he's got this. But her whole role is to just basically run the court and make sure he's protected. Mm-hmm. That's that intuition that we as women show up as. But when you get two women,
it's tricky.
They often do the same thing to one another. And there's sometimes these clashes, especially when you have two very powerful women who know their divinity as the feminine. It can be tough because we're also stubborn. Like, no, that's what I do. I tell you and I guide you what to do. I don't like that person, and we're not hanging out with that person. Good luck trying to tell that to a woman who's doing the same thing. But men look at that and be like, oh, queen has spoken. We're good. Not because she's domineering, because she's protecting.
I like the analogy comparison to the chessboard. Mm-hmm. That's cool. I haven't actually thought about that.
Mm-hmm. But we don't do that anymore. We just go, well, he's fat and lazy and he doesn't do anything and he's not making enough of the bread and stuff. Now that's a totally different subject. If you ain't taking care of yourself and you're not keeping up the end of the bargain, well, there's not much I can do for you. But, I think the majority of men even listening to this podcast aren't that way, or they're looking to be even better men. That's why I say, it's like saying, why trust him? Well, first of all, you shouldn't trust anybody but yourself. And that's putting a burden on someone who's also imperfect and trying to just get through this journey of life, just like you are. Why don't you just get with a trustworthy person? Because they're trustworthy whether or not you trust them or not. So careful who you choose. Nothing wrong with being, if you choose your journey, you're happiest chilling on the couch, play video games and whatever, well, you'll attract the woman who's okay with that. Cool.
Right. Yeah. I think that you really need to know what you like, who you are and what you want and what you value to know who your partner should be. Because like you just said, like it's kind of like that the fuck yes energy bag. Like why push someone into wanting you if you know who you are and you love yourself? Like there's someone out there that will want that version of you as you change just the way it is. I'm not trying to change you.
Right. This is all just a journey. I really truly believe that we are only in relationship with ourselves, no matter if we get in a relationship with someone else, but that we're just looking to be the best versions of ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And those mirrors are one of the best ways to do that. However, coming from someone who's had a lot of life lessons and soul lessons come through soul contracts in relationships, that can get really hard. I mean, there's an easier way to do that, and that's work on that yourself. But again, you can only do that to a certain degree. Going back to this, I'm not going to date, I'm going to do this. We're going to learn through people. We're going to learn through mirrors. Just be okay with it. Everything's temporary anyways.
Yes.
So is marriage. Sorry about it.
So I wanted to ask you, what do you think about the self-care movement? Like, do you think it's actually real, or do you think it's just trendy?
I think it's confused. I just think it's confused.
Yeah.
Why are we doing a movement of, and I get that this, just like anything we've gotten to this point in consciousness, is we've gotten so far away from something that we're having to pendulum the way back. To your point, the men who are saying, fuck this, I'm going to be this way no matter what, and that's how the women are doing it, we're coming at it really, really forceful, but that's because we're like trying to bulldoze our way back into nature, back into the way we're supposed to be. I think if we just simply switched our belief around what self-love or self-care is, it wouldn't be such a movement. It's literally the second I take a breath in, I'm caring for myself. Don't put down anything that supports positive direction in life, right? But if we make it like, if you're not doing this, if you're not going out and you're not, getting your hair done, once a month, or you're not doing this, if we start to get to that point where we're saying, if you don't do this, that's not self-care. Everyone's got a different form of self-care.
Right.
Some people, it's, I locked myself in a house for a week and shut myself off. People think, well, that's torture, actually. Your self-care could be a form of torture for another person.
Yeah. That sounds like a great time for me.
I ain't going. Like somebody, or someone I saw the other day on social media, one of Jesse Itzler's friends, he lived in a cave, so no light for like a week.
No.
Oh, I wouldn't do well with that at all.
No.
But for him, it was something he really wanted to experience. For me, that sounds like torture.
Yeah, no, the no light thing is
right.
You want to collect a gallon of my tears, put me in a cave.
There you go.
Oh my God.
It's a totally different way to look at it. So I think going back to the question is, I don't put it down, but as long as there's not this is self-care and this is not. Because you have no idea where anybody is in their journey or their alignment with themselves.
Yeah. It's very true.
Just, again, stay in your freaking lane, self-care for yourself, and someone will watch you and be like, I want to do that too. Then we wouldn't have to have a movement.
Yeah. I know. I think it was really like, all these influencers are like, here's what I do every morning for my routine. And it's like, people are just blindly like following these things. And I'm all for like people seeing what other people are doing and what is working and taking what they feel is valuable to them. But just trying to copy and paste someone's thing and thinking it's going to give you success in that area, it's not. I don't think it's the way to go. And like you said, people are just lost. It's just kind of like people don't understand it. I think it's not taught. Like it's not taught how to care about yourself and how to care for yourself.
Right. Yeah. And that's, we don't raise society like that anymore either. Certainly not in schools. And it's like I said, um, it, I look at self-care as this. I don't even use it like self-love, self-care. It's really what it is that keeps you in that vibration.
Mm-hmm.
It. But again, everybody's vibration is slightly different. And we won't know until we try. So bravo for you, Kimmy, trying that. That may sound like hell to me and Anna, but you were just like, yeah, I'm gonna go do that. You don't know until you try. And so like there's some things I know right off the bat, nope, I'm not trying that.
That's fair.
Not for me, right? But there's certain things that like, yeah, I don't know. That sounds cool. I'll try it once and see if that works.
Yeah.
Contrast and data.
I don't know. The people that are like, I'll try anything once. And I'm like, I feel like I know myself enough at this point to say I don't need to try everything once.
Meanwhile, I'm over in the corner trying deep fried cockroaches because somebody told me to or something. You know, nothing like that. I've never done that. But like, I see, like, I'm one of those people that will try anything once.
See,
if you really have, you're going to tell me later.
I am not opposed to, I'm not opposed to learning more about something.
Oh, I with ranch.
Ew. With ranch.
I mean, that'd be something to cover up.
I would literally throw up. If you want to do a video of me throwing up, we can do that. So I would be willing to like learn more about it or like maybe watch someone else do it. But like I feel like I don't need to personally try everything in my own experience. I think that when I was a kid, a lot of who I am today was not modeled for me. I learned a lot about who I am by learning what I didn't want.
Yeah.
And so I can learn that through watching someone. Now, obviously you learn really well through experiencing things, but for the most part, I learned from watching others go through things and I'm like, no.
Yeah, there you go.
Or I watch them and I'm like, you know what? They looked like so scared. Like, I want to know what it's like to be that scared. Like, I want to try it now that I've seen it. And I'm like, maybe. So sometimes maybe watching it will get me to that point of wanting to try it. But I definitely don't lean into that.
Yeah. I think I've always been that way. I'm more of an observer than I am trying everything. Like I still to this day, I've never had a single drug in my life. I was able to watch my friends do that enough.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I know I'm good. There's certain things that we can already see as a result that we don't want. And so we don't do that same thing. But you always have to trust your own inner guidance. And I think this is another thing about going back to self-care and frankly, anything that we hear nowadays from social media. Everyone's got an opinion. I've never known one technology to have more opinions than Facebook and Instagram.
I know.
I myself included. But is the thought of should, this belief of should. And so many people say, well, I should do that. I should do that. How does it feel to should?
Oh, I don't like should.
Feels shitty to me. I don't even say that word. Well, I really should do that. The second that comes out of I do the opposite. I do something the opposite to just break me out of that. It's like, I really should work out today. Ew. Well, yes, working out could be a great idea, but if I'm getting to the point of that vibration, wrong direction, right? If I don't feel inspired to do it, I don't do it. This is that kind of path of least resistance, more work smarter, not harder, is if I don't want to, I don't do it. And that's hard for a lot of people to believe. That's another form of self-love.
I'm really big on that.
It's just the power of no.
Not so much.
Yeah, it's a work for everybody because we're now in this space of, well, if you don't have self-care, then you should have self-care.
Yeah.
Well,
it really matters how you say things.
It really does, because the vibration of the vibration you hold before actually doing anything matters more than anything else that comes after it.
Yeah.
You could do something if I feel really bad about doing it and I move forward, the result of that will never render what I'm the outcome will never render what I want.
Yeah.
Other
So-
than being inspired, being pulled towards something, then the results are wonderful.
Like you could say the same like with the word like, because I have noticed that I've said this before, like, oh, like, yeah, I'll see if I can do that later, but I have to go to the gym first or something. It's the same word, same
Yeah.
dressing people differently.
You have to.
I've noticed myself, I'm like, no, I'm choosing to, I want to. Like, I've changed how I speak to myself, whether it's in my head or to a casual conversation to someone. Like, yeah, I'll do it after I do this. Or not saying I'll do it after because I have to do this. Like, it's a slight tweak, but it totally changes.
It's important. Again, just that vibration, the resonance of things spoken.
Yeah.
And it also lets you know where you are. It's Kim, you asked me earlier, how do you know when you're in alignment? Well, just you know yourself better than anybody. You know the second something doesn't feel right. You know the second that you feel off put or you're forcing yourself. And one of the greatest books I think ever written, and I worked for many years with Tony Robbins, gal who broke all his sales records. I mean, she was really phenomenal, and we all have our shit, and we've since parted ways. But she put a book in my hand when we were talking about I just want to go and attack the world and like be purposeful and change the world. She put Power versus Force in my hands, and it's a very mental book, if you will. But what it teaches is the resonance and vibration of thoughts, feelings, actions, and how we should be doing something with power as opposed to force.
Yeah.
So when you go do something, when you know you're not feeling it and you're like, I just don't want to do this, and forcing yourself to do this, you are telling the universe, I want more things I have to force myself into.
I love how you said you know when you don't like things, because I have been wondering, when I'm in the journey of finding myself, I'm like, well, I don't even know what I like. Like, how do you find things that you like, And one thing that somebody told me was, well, like after you eat a meal, if you like that meal or not. Like, you either want to eat it again or you didn't like it, or there was something about it. You're like, whether you liked it or not. And it's like, oh, damn. And they were like, well, just reassess stuff that you've done, or just go do things. And then to ask yourself afterwards, did I like doing that?
Yeah.
And it's because I'm one of those people. I'm like, well, I don't even know what I like, like I like so many things. What do I like, and it's hard for me to be like, this is what I like, this is what I don't like. But it's way easier to say things that you don't like rather than things you do like, only because there's stronger emotions, I think, distaste versus something you like. And so I like challenge everybody to think about things after they've done them. Did you like it? Like, did you genuinely like doing that?
It's a great point.
People.
It's a great point.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Yeah.
I think you can apply that to people too.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like a lot of people spend time and energy on people that they don't really like, and it's like, why? They don't usually have an answer. They're
Right.
I felt
Because
like
they should.
Yeah, because they should do it.
Because I'm still married to the person I can't stand, but I can't get divorced. I should work through this. Actually, I'm going to go get therapy and work doubly hard and hate him even more because I won't honor myself and just realize you chewed the flavor out of that gum and it's time to move along. He's probably thinking the same thing, but this is the thing we get into. Go try it. You'll know so quickly, right? But I think what we do is we judge I don't like this meal, but that's okay. You don't ever have to have it again. But the second we take something like a job, but this subject, you're just going to need to fucking bear it. Yeah. Grin, bear it, get through it. And unfortunately, we've caused things to be more important than the other. I'm not saying don't do some work. I'm all for therapy. But if you're forcing yourself to fix something that's clearly broken, then my question would be why are you putting that, which is your well-being, at a place that is supposed to be fixed as opposed to just looking at that and saying, this doesn't work for me anymore. And why is that not okay? But this meal or this event that you did or this sport that you played, if you don't like that, the society says, yeah, that's okay. Don't do that again. It's interesting what we have put context that we've put power into as opposed to our own alignment.
Yeah, I mean, that one's tricky. It goes into
It's tricky.
family values and how our society has changed a lot more. If it's broke, don't fix it. Or, I mean, if it's not broke, don't fix it. Or versus like investing in the family and like you just stay with people. We've gone through so many transitions of how like relationships should be. But I think the one that we haven't really even focused on at all is like society is the relationship with yourself and how we want that to be. Because it's not even talked about.
Yeah. Well, think about what happens if you get a bunch of, I mean, imagine a whole population's like me.
Oh, God.
She didn't give a fuck. She's just like, nope, done with this engagement. Nope, done with this job. Nope, done with it. Or, yeah, she wants to go try this now. Or she doesn't really care what anybody thinks. She's just floating along and doing her own thing. She's not giving up a bunch of things for other people and sacrificing herself per se and her dreams and her wants and her desires. She's just moving along in her vibration. Imagine an entire world like that. People don't know what to do with that. So we don't teach people to think. And like I said, it took me this long and I'm still not perfect at all. I'm still going to have more lessons. But if we taught everyone to be like this, it would be a very, very different world. We fear, unfortunately, judgment.
Yeah.
If no one else was looking and you were able to just do what you're doing, like you decided, I don't want to date that person anymore. Oh, well, we posted it on Instagram. We posted it all over Facebook. Oh, what is everyone going to think? Now I have to make a post and explain why we're no longer together. And I'm going to get a million texts. And we fear all this judgment and response. And that's where I say you really got to get laser focused on just your own vibration and not really care what the outside noise is, because they're going to judge you anyways. They're going to do it anyways. You live your best life and they're still going to judge you. Okay.
Yeah. I think it's important to, like, for people that don't know you very well, that they understand that what you're saying is not that it's not important to commit to things, but it's to pick the things that you align with, and it's okay to let go of things that you no longer align with. But committing to your career, if that's what you love and that's what is making you happy, committing to your partner, if that's what is making you happy and you align with, those things are important. But so many people just do it to make society or others happy, and they're not really happy with themselves.
Right.
Is that correct?
It's all about being in alignment and being inspired to do something, as opposed to the other energy, which is forced and having to do, should do type of things. I mean, if we really just only did things that we were inspired to do, even if you don't know what it is you like, to your point, Kim, you're like, how do I even know what I like? But you do know that you could go try it and make a decision. And that's really what we do every day, all day long, is we just try things and see if we like it. Try a different app, try a different movie, try a different person, whatever, right? But do it in the context of, to your point, where you still feel in alignment. Because everything you do creates a form of karma. Everything you do is going to come back to you. But just do and feel and think with those parameters. And frankly, I think we'd actually have, and this is what I would love to see, is we'd have even more marriages. We'd have better quality marriages. We'd have better relationships all around if we just minded our damn business.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean?
Totally. Yeah. Because you know what, when you leave, if you leave for the wrong reasons, your job, your relationship, and you do it just because of pressure, not because, or if you stay because of pressure, whatever decisions you make because of the wrong reasons, you're going to continue to take that mindset and that feeling into whatever you go into next. So if your feeling of ending a relationship is not real, like you're going to take it with you to the next relationship if you're not actually learning from it. And like you're saying, because of your inspiration to do what is aligned within whatever's in your heart.
Yeah, and that's a really there's a lot to that conversation too, because think about the people who know that let's just say the job isn't working for them. They may be told, well, you just need to fix it.
Right.
But if it's not working, you have two choices. You could work harder at forcing it to be different, which most jobs, yes, everything is your perception, right? You see what you believe, not the other way around.
Mm-hmm.
So I could walk into a situation that looks horrible to one person and it's totally fine to me.
Mm-hmm.
I really would encourage someone to, if they know it's not working for them, get into a really good vibration when you quit.
Yeah.
Because quitting something, when you say, okay, maybe I didn't learn all my lessons here. Because rarely do we learn all of the life lessons and soul lessons that we need and virtues through one person, one relationship, one job, one whatever it may be, one hometown. It's going to take usually multiple.
Yeah.
It's being okay with saying, I learned some things. I grew in some ways enough to know that I'm ready for more expansion. I may not have learned that specific lesson, but I know that I will gain more resources, get closer and closer and ready if I switch here. So if you know that switch is going to be a level up for you, that's a better energy to release something. And I always tell people, my mantra is, if not this, then something better.
Yeah.
Nothing leaves my life without something greater entering into it.
You told me that the other day, and it was like,
oh,
it was silly because it was about my phone.
Oh yeah, I remember. Great
like,
story, by the way. I love that.
Like, am I supposed to not get this cell phone? Because I was trying to get the iPhone 14, and I went to the store 3 different times, and you're like, no, if not this, then something better. And I was like, what? And then you're like, and then I went back, and on the day that I actually got my phone, I got more money off than they first offered me. So I wasn't supposed to get it that first. And then I kept positive about it. I was like, no, I'm gonna get it because I want to, because this is where I'm going. Like I want to, I know I'm good. And I think because I kept myself like positive towards it, I got back something better. And it was crazy because you said it and then it happened. I was like, okay.
Oh, that was so cool. I love that. But it comes down to releasing resistance is another huge part, is release resistance around something. A lot of times that will solve most of our issues. Is with jobs. I mean, I don't know. I've walked away from jobs. Some I walked away from not feeling very good. It's like, this company sucks. This manager sucks, or this or that. I just took that shit, as you said, right along with me into the next job or whatnot. Right. It's, if you can let go of resistance, and by that, just stop thinking the same freaking thought over and over again. It's not putting power toward it. Stop freaking, don't pick up the phone and call your mom or your friends or whatever and tell them all the horrible things so that you put more momentum towards this. This is another problem with this whole self-love conversation and relationships and whatever. It's stop bringing momentum towards the negative.
Yeah.
Only speak what you want more of. And you were like, I want this. I wanted that. I need that phone. Like, this will help my business. It'll help me be happier, yada, 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 yada.
Yeah.
And you showed up with all that and got more benefits, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Kimmy and I have definitely both realized that a lot of the people that we talk to, not necessarily like our close friends, but just people that have been in our lives and circles, are, they talk mostly about negative things, and it's harder when you start focusing only on the good. We all have our moments. We get into butt modes, and I think when we hang out, we allow each other like 5-10 minutes. All right, go. And then it's like, all right, and you're done. Like, let's talk about like good stuff now. And but it's hard to be around. It's hard to be around that because I don't want to listen to it.
Right, and it gets even harder. The harder you get, the closer you get to that alignment and that consistency and habit of positive thought, It is much harder to be around people who aren't quite there yet.
Yeah.
And selfish, going back to the selfish thing,
Yeah.
I don't sit for it anymore.
Yeah.
I used to sit there and listen to everybody's problem. Let them call me if you need to vent, honey. I'm here for you. No, actually lose my number when you want to vent. Because seriously, people, if they only understood how much creation they're doing in that, when you put emotion behind something,
Yeah.
your creation power is intensified tenfold. And so this is why they always say, like, hey, just if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all. We only take that as what you're going to say about other people, but it just means about anything.
Yeah, no, that's so true.
But we're like, but I'm supposed to be there for that person. I'm like, okay, well, let's look at the results of your life then after you've been around that, and let's look at how that person's manifested, materialized in their life. This goes back to the relationships. Don't do that. Don't sit there and talk about the problem. Get off the problem. Do something else, and then let it lose its momentum.
Yeah.
Right. But it really, you get less and less patient as you get to more of this alignment, but you're loving still. You're not just like, I'm not picking up the phone. My friend's like, I got a problem. Like, I'm not doing that. Right. Or rather click now. Right. Gosh, I miss the slamming of the phone sometimes, or the clicking of the flip phone. But yeah, but one of the best things I ever learned was the 17-second rule. This comes from Abraham Hicks, and it works. You get 17 seconds. A thought, if thought for 17 seconds, will automatically create one that's harmonizing with it. And then 17 seconds more, another thought that's created that harmonizes with it. This is how people get on this venting train. You ever listen to someone who just started at like one subject and suddenly you're hearing like their job sucks, and suddenly now you're hearing about how their cousin, screw them over with money, and now their dog's sick, and now you country songs, right? So you're just one problem after freaking another. I know, and this is the problem. I have a really hard time listening to mainstream anything, but because this is the bemoaning, but it's this. I always tell people, and I do this with myself, this is a really shitty thought. I give myself 16 or 15 seconds to think about it. Because if it hits 17, I guarantee you I'm going to think another thought that harmonizes with it. And in 60 seconds, you put it out in the universe and you create it.
Yeah.
So I did the 10 minutes, but take it down to 10 seconds and watch how your problems change in your life. Right?
Well, and it's the same reverse too. It's the more time you spend thinking of the good things, the more good. It's like gratitude. It just builds. It's easier to think of. Like, it may be hard. Some people say they have difficulty feeling gratitude. Like, they're like, everything sucks. I can't think of anything. It's like, okay, just think of one. Just think of one. And then the longer you think about it, you'll be like, oh, well, I guess there's this too. Think about those two things. And then it's easier to grow and to focus on the longer you think about it.
Yeah. Or don't think about anything that has to do with you. Right? It's going back to sometimes when you can't find that happy place because you're already in there, right? You're already on the momentum of life is shitty, yada yada. My husband sucks, my job sucks, don't have money. Yeah. They're already in that spiral. Yeah. If you ask somebody, what do you think someone else somewhere in the world right now is grateful for? Like, oh shit. Well, those people in Turkey are glad to, still have some of their family members that are ripped from the rubble. There's some people who are grateful to be alive in Ohio right now with all this shit going on. I mean, there's take them out of themselves because they're just on that spiral. Maybe just say, what would someone right now in the world be grateful for? There's probably some kid grateful for freaking water. Yeah. That's not to make them feel bad. That's to just get them off their own spiral. Stop the momentum.
True. That's very true. I think that's a good note to end on. It's focusing on gratitude and only focusing on good things. And that leads me to the final question. Oh, are you ready?
Oh, I don't know what this is. So, okay.
All right. So the question is, Elle, what is something that you want to do but have been scared to do it and to start it?
Date a man.
Being a man?
Date a man?
Kimmy, well done. But I love that it's being a band. I have been in a band, a few of them actually.
Oh.
But yeah, eventually.
Get a hearing.
Eventually.
Why did
Get a
you
hearing.
sign us with being a band? Date a man.
Yeah. Never done it. It sounds cool. Sounds different.
Sounds cool.
So, can tell I'm really attached to it, right?
You what?
You can tell I'm really attached to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I will say I had so much resistance towards that in the past, and getting to this point very recently, still haven't. So this is very new for me. This is going to line up a whole bunch of different contrasts for me, right? Which is cool. It's something I always just said no. I wasn't necessarily scared to, but I will say that there's a lot of trepidation. There's not many things I fear ever.
Mm-hmm.
It's the trepidation of something I know nothing about. I am 38 years old and never dated a man. What the hell I know about that? So it'll be really cool to dance in that. And if I never do, that's okay too. It's just simply something I've never done. It has been something I in the past had a lot of resistance towards, and we'll see what happens.
Okay. So
Yeah.
again, going back to your not putting like limits and rules on yourself about like, oh, I'm going to be single for 6 months. Like I'm going to, you're not necessarily going to, but you're now open to it. And it's something that you're going to allow to happen if it comes. Is that kind of how you feeling towards it? Or?
Yeah. I mean, it's like saying, well, I'm going to save up my money. I'm not going to spend right now. And then someone hands you a winning lottery ticket. How long are you going to sit on that bitch for?
Right.
Not long, right? You're going to go cash that in. You're going to go spend. If I spend the money you had in the bank too, it's like that. Don't limit yourself, because limitations never work out really well. I have my own boundaries. I know exactly what it is I'm doing. I'm not focused on it. But if a lottery ticket comes floating up into my space, why not? Why not?
No.
I might say no. That would be not receiving. So.
Well,
Good question. Good question.
I, for one, will be very interested if that does happen to you to hear about how it went.
You and me both. I will let you know. That's a good one.
Yeah. All right. Well, I appreciate you so much for joining us today, and I hope you had a good time chatting with us. And
oh my gosh, so much fun.
Yeah, this was a cool episode. You know, we talking about self-love. It's such a wide aspect of conversations and topics, and I feel like we hit a lot of them, and I think it's definitely relatable for people. So
yeah, no, this has been great. It's been a blast, and thank you for bringing this up. I think it's a really cool. You know, most people are doing talks about relationships, and though we hit on that today, this is the most important one, and I think there's probably more people who will now go and enjoy their Valentine's maybe a little bit more than I know I am. I'm gonna have a blast tonight with myself. And so just loving on yourself, and hopefully that inspires people and they have a better night, and who knows.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope that people listen, check out our Instagram page. We're gonna have some clips on it if you don't want to invest, and definitely watch the YouTube video because all of our pretty faces are on it. Kimmy and I just got our hair done, so we're looking good.
Oh, I like it. I love that.
Kimmy, I love your hair.
Mine has like 6 layers of sweat in it right now.
You can tell. You can tell. It looks really
Let's
cute.
go. I never do. I will tell you, I never do my hair. Hardly at all. It's like, yeah, cool. Move on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
maybe I will.
Yeah, that looks great. The cool thing about Elle, she's low maintenance. You know, I mean, come on.
I do. I try to be. Well, thank you again so much, ladies. Appreciate you. It's great to laugh with you and talk with you and get all the thoughts and feels. And this has been a pleasure. Thank you.
Absolutely. Do you want to tell people how they can find you if they want to hear more about your wisdom?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. My antics. So best place, I'm more active on Instagram than I am Facebook. I really just keep that for family and friends. But on Instagram, show me your set. That's as it sounds. And You'll see why. And then showmeyourset.com is another place. But I'm super duper active on Instagram, so it's the best place to find me.
Perfect. And we will be posting this
next Monday, which will be coming up at 6 a.m. Why so early? Because we're fucking sharks, and sharks don't get up this Monday.
That's right.
Love it. I fucking love it.
right.
Awesome. Looking forward to it.
I don't know if that's going to cut you off when I end this.
Might.